Yes, you probably don't want to listen to this with your small children because there may be some spoilers.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Good point. That was
some adults, though. Yeah. Some adults.
Oh, yeah. Well, at this point, if you haven't heard the dissenting opinions.
Dissenting.
Dissenting, thank you. Dissenting opinions about Santa, then I'm impressed that you're listening to this podcast.
That's true.
And also grateful, and spoilers coming.
Yes. We just want to make sure that we're putting that out there to be
that was good insight.
I try. I try. Welcome to How I See It with me, Mark Pratt, and
Justin Sternberg. This is a podcast that works to counter cultural polarization through thoughtful conversations.
Morning, Justin.
Good morning, Mr. Mark.
How are you, sir?
I am well.
Yeah?
Yes. I don't know. It will be quite a ways after. No. We're posting this one soon.
Yeah.
So, happy anniversary.
Hey, well, thank you.
26 years.
26 years.
Woo.
Yeah. And it's been good.
That's awesome.
Chris is actually, and I realize maybe I shouldn't even be saying this. Chris is actually.
Do you want me to pause you?
Well, it's going to tell you a little bit about Chris, but which we normally keep confidential. But Chris has officially been married half as long as she's been alive.
Okay.
So that's kind of a cool milestone. I have to wait till next year.
Yeah.
But next year I will have been married half of my life, basically.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting to think about from that context.
That is. I'm trying to figure out what that math works. I'm not going to do that.
Next year
for me
will be our 27th, and
Yeah.
I'll be 54.
Yeah.
So that's how the math works.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get your math. I'm trying to figure out math for mine. I don't want to figure that out.
Yeah.
It'll probably be similar. When did you, how old were you when you got married?
27.
Oh, okay. So it'll be actually sooner for me.
Yeah, I had 10 years on you.
Yeah. Not 10. I think 5, 6.
Okay.
Why are we doing math? It's too early for that.
Well, we're good for it.
Make it stop.
We're good for it. We're going to shift over. We'll shift over soon.
Okay, let's shift over.
About it. But yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's good. Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about some Christmassy stuff because...
So we need to have our listeners be aware of age-appropriate listening because we may be talking about Santa.
Ho, ho, ho. Yeah. Yes, you probably don't want to listen to this with your small children because there may be some spoilers.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Good point. That was
some adults, though. Yeah. Some adults.
Oh, yeah. Well, at this point, if you haven't heard the dissenting opinions.
Dissenting.
Dissenting, thank you. Dissenting opinions about Santa, then I'm impressed that you're listening to this podcast.
That's true.
And also grateful, and spoilers coming.
Yes. We just want to make sure that we're putting that out there to be
that was good insight.
I try. Yeah. I try.
So I got a little...
I was a little leery on how to broach the subject with you, to be perfectly honest, It's like, man, what, I haven't officially broached this subject with Justin.
This is very polarizing. Are you trying to say... No. All right, we'll get to that in a minute.
I'm just sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I got a Christmas puzzle for you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I got a joke for you if you want it.
Oh, let's have that one first.
You want a joke first?
Yeah. Only if it's
a
good dad.
Yeah, it's a dad joke.
Bad dad joke.
What vehicle did the wise men drive?
Camel. I'm trying to... Camouflage?
No.
Oh, that doesn't make any sense.
It was a Honda because they arrived in one accord. You get it?
That's good. That's real good. I gotta put that one in the old memory banks.
Well, don't worry about it too much.
They arrived in one accord.
Yes, they arrived.
Well done, Mark. Well done.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna do a Mad Lib with you.
Okay.
And you can't look at the screen because.
Oh, okay. I won't look at the screen.
All right. The first thing I need from you is I can't read it. Month.
You want my glasses?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Oh, December, of course.
December?
Yes.
We're going
anniversaries.
We're going real literal.
Well, that's just the one that comes to my mind right now.
That's good. December, got it. And a verb?
Verb, run.
Run. Okay. And I need a place.
I'm going to go with Chicago.
Chicago.
It's just fun to say.
Chicago. Yeah, I agree. All right. How about an adjective?
Adjective. Kind.
Kind.
Yes.
Okay. And another place.
Is kind of adjective?
Kind, yes.
Okay, I was thinking about that. Versus an adverb, but yes. Yeah, okay, I'm good with that. Yep. Kind.
He ran kindly. Doesn't work, so it's not an adverb.
Yes. Thank you. Nice job.
You're welcome.
About that. Yes.
I mean, maybe he did.
But either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get through this. Where were we? I need another place.
Need another place. Let's go with Baton Rouge. Are you sure?
Baton Rouge. Yeah, I'm losing my place. All right. I need another adjective.
Another adjective. Round.
Round. Okay. Man, I could...
You want my glasses?
No, it's just that I don't actually have the Mad Lib sheet, so I'm trying to figure out where I am in this puzzle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You want me to hold my finger on the screen?
But then you'll see it. No.
I can.
All right, verb.
Verb. Let's go with hit.
Okay. And we need a noun.
Noun. Sneaker.
Oh, good one. I need another verb.
Another verb. Jumped.
Jumped. Good one. All right.
Jumped.
Now we need a noun.
A noun.
Yep.
Candy bar.
Good one. All right. And we need an adjective.
Adjective. I'm going to go with thin.
Thin. I hope this is going to be good. I hope there's a big reveal for you guys.
I'm understand. I'm trying to get it a little more out of the box.
All right, adjective.
Adjective. Hairy.
Hairy. Thought you were going to go boxy. All right, color.
Color. Turquoise.
Oh. Good one. You're trying to make me spell turquoise. Okay. Adjective.
Adjective is... Man, there's a lot of those adjectives.
There are.
I'm going to go... Man. Tall.
Okay. Verb.
Verb. Slipped.
Okay. And verb. We're almost done.
Verb.
Sorry, listener. We're almost there.
Rolled.
Rolled. And noun.
Noun. Chimney. No, I want to change that. Chimney's too Christmassy. It's coming. See, I'm thinking this Christmas stuff.
That's okay. We could mix it up. Chicago Christmas.
I want to go with a train.
Train.
Yes.
That's a good one. And two more. An exclamation. Like.
Yo, baby, yo, baby, yo, babe.
All right. I gotta write that down here. I can't wait to read this. All right. And holiday.
Holiday.
This one can be literal if you want.
Let's go with Christmas.
All right. Sorry. All right.
All right.
We're ready.
I'm ready.
Shoo.
Let's
try not to mess this up.
You need me to read and then you fill in, or you got it? Are you going to be able to
let's do it that way. That's a good idea.
I can look at this now. Every
December,
we
run
to a tree. To a tree. We run to a tree.
Chicago. That doesn't make sense. Isn't that place?
I don't know. I have to put my glasses back on. But either way, far away. Not just
wait.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Every December, we run to a tree, Chicago far away.
Nice. Not just any
kind
farm, a
round
tree.
Baton Rouge. This is a terrible. Right,
you picked this. My dad and I
hit
onto the
sneaker
to
jump
for the perfect
candy bar.
Some people like them
thin
and
hairy,
and some like them
tall
and fat.
Yep.
We are searching for a tall and
slipped
one. Over there, I exclaimed. Dad, it's over there. Off we
rolled,
saw in hand to verb.
Yeah, I have it now. Let's just say to roll.
This year's
train
down.
Here's your
exclamation. Hubba hubba, baby.
No, yo baby, yo baby, yo babe. It's Christmas finally.
Nice job.
Oh my
That was
goodness.
almost painful.
I would dare say that was painful. we might have to cut that whole thing. No, I'm gonna leave it. I'm sorry, listeners. You're gonna have to hear it. This is what we do for fun these days. All right, so what are we talking about? Something about spoilers and
spoilers.
Santa.
Yeah. So when you think of polarizing this time of year, polarizing.
I think of the North Pole.
Yes. Do you think of the North Pole? No.
I mean, I guess in Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in a lot of Christmas movies.
There are.
That have Santa in them.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
No doubt.
That's where the toy workshop is.
Yes.
So you got to see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
But not necessarily just Santa.
Right.
Because I think we can get...
What's the other pole?
The South Pole, of course.
Right. And that's where Jesus lives.
Well, I never quite heard it that way, but yeah.
Those are the two poles that we're talking about. Santa and Jesus. Although, I would say they're not necessarily poles in that they're... I think the poles that we're likely referring to is how we celebrate and the focus.
Yeah,
and that
where the focus becomes.
Yeah. But I dare say they can be complementary.
Yeah.
And I think most families I know really strive to balance that.
Yeah. And I think this time of year is always a good opportunity to reflect on how we balance. Mm-hmm. I'm looking back, thinking about it, in the context of young family, young kids, all of the excitement and everything that went along with that. And granted, I think, every couple, who has kids needs to wrestle. Yeah. Or not, probably does wrestle with how involved are we going to make Santa into our, Christmas season, if you will. And how do we go ahead?
I was going to say, even with or without Santa, there's also the balance of presents. And,
yeah.
How many presents too many? How many is too little?
Yeah.
Can we afford them this year? What will the kids think if we can't afford them and we get fewer or whatever? Or are we spoiling them if we give them all these? The balance. Maybe balance is the key word here.
Maybe.
In this season.
And I'm still thinking about it in the context of even, the energy that is exerted for the perfect gift. Mm-hmm. And I think, that's of course an opportunity where I think Jesus does need to come into the, onto the scene of sorts. Mm-hmm. That, this is, and I guess that's where I've been, as I've been thinking about it, just personally lately, about that difference as time goes by and that where Santa fits in or has the ability, we have the ability to fit him in, you know, and yet do we lose sight, or how often do I lose sight of Jesus in the midst of the Christmas season? That's kind of where I've been at.
That's good. Yeah. I would love to hear just a little snippet of some of your, I guess, nostalgic favorite moments, with Christmas, or like some of the things that stand out. And I'd like to, I'm happy to share mine as well. But just like, what are some things as you were growing up, and it's been 26 years married now. Yeah. And 20 some of those years, obviously a parent, and prior to that, a child yourself, and just like, what are some things about Christmas that stand out to you to be just joyful moments, or?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. I actually
like the peaks in the timeline, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess as I was thinking back, about childhood, of course there were the seasons, the Christmases with the the big items that I remember, and I think initially, to be honest with you, if you were to ask me about Christmas was about my families. We would always literally, when I was growing up, spend Christmas Eve with my mom's parents, my grandparents, but on my mom's side. And I think, just being able to, they lived on a farm. So there was something about all of the family gathering together to do chores, And, it even kind of brought that whole, because we were feeding cows before we opened gifts, so it kind of brings that whole manger scene to mind, and I can still remember, at times going up in the hay mow to throw down hay, and it's just cold up there because all that dampness is up there from the cows below, but it's cold outside. So there's no heat. And it just really kind of had that ability to take.
It's so sensory,
Yes.
Yeah. So just
the smell of hay. Yeah. And you can hear the cattle lowing, and it really was kind of a neat opportunity as a kid. And then there was this family, and I can still remember, the snow, of course, in the north. I can remember the Christmases where it actually snowed Christmas Eve. And how that would kind of add to, I remember there was one, year where it came down and it was like snowball-sized snowflakes. It was like all, of course, once you touch them, they pop, but it was so
just magical.
Yeah, it was, and so that's kind of cool. And then, of course, so those are memories. And, and I remember looking back, I remember gifts and recognizing how much my parents had to sacrifice or scrimp. Growing up, we didn't know that, we didn't have much. Yeah. But, it was only later on, and only in comparison to looking now, how much, how blessed we are. Yeah. That kind of thing. So I'm mindful of those gifts. And, that's kind of, but family was definitely a part of that.
Yeah, that's good.
And being able to include, and I think, for us, and then that became Chris and I. And our own little traditions that we bring into it, and I remember when we built our first house in New York State, we were able to move in. We got moved in like on the 19th of December. Wow. To be able, and I can still remember, we had this big cathedral ceiling and, 2-story cathedral ceiling in the front porch, and we went and got this, seemed like a 14-foot tall Christmas tree, but it was big. It was big, and we were so excited to bring it into the house that we brought it in, and and I shook it off on the front porch, but there was still snow on it, and we had this brand new floor, that we had, hardwood floor, and it started leaking, drip to where we ended up having to get towels and and a whole 9 yards. But it's still worth it. It was still a fun memory, that tree just it was like a tropical rainforest, drip, drip, drip off a, but those were fun. And then, the kids growing up, and, and when we moved to North Carolina, a lot of our Christmases we've tried to be home on Christmas Day. But I still remember some where we'd travel to places and spend time as a family, like at, Great Wolf Lodge or something like that, to try and make the, Christmas special for our kids, even though we might be on the road, that kind of thing. And John, of course, is born, his birthday's the 28th. So trying to be able to, have that separate from Christmas too.
And yours is
mine's
in
9th.
December as well.
But yeah, it's
Christmas babies. My sister is also December 9th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of. So yeah, that's.
Her name is Holly.
Oh, wow!
Should have named you Holly.
No, I wouldn't.
Is there a man version of that?
I don't know.
Holland.
Yeah. Call Noel doesn't even work, does it? No.
That's my niece's name.
Oh wow, Holly's daughter is Noel.
Was born December 8th.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holly
is there a mistletoe in the family?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to them hearing this.
What about you?
Yeah, well, but right before we do that,
sorry.
I had a specific question I wanted to ask. Do you have a specific good memory of a Santa themed memory? Red and white, candy cane stripes, that whole world. And or do you have specific Jesus themed memory, right? Like the manger and the, nativity scene and kind of, they're kind of like those poles, right? When you think about.
Ironically, my probably most vivid memory of Santa was in the church growing up.
Wow.
It is. We would have for the part of the Christmas program in the church, they would have Santa come in, and I still remember receiving like an orange from Santa. And,
cool.
And that whole aspect of, at that time, me trying to figure out, okay, who's Santa?
Yeah.
Who is this person?
Yeah.
In this role as I may, to where I can remember that.
So you were past just like, oh, look, there's Santa and there's Jesus.
Yeah. Definitely past.
Yeah.
I can't remember a time. I really can't remember a time that I held fast to the Santa notion. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. I can't either, but, yeah.
And even, for Chris and I, it was more a matter of, And it's not that my parents didn't do, the Santa gifts. And Chris and I, even with our kids, the stocking stuffer stuff.
Yeah.
That was all Santa.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't anything that we definitely promoted, and it was kind of I'm just looking back.
Low key.
I'm not saying we didn't ever have our pictures as a family taken with Santa, but I can't remember any,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
And then the Jesus nativity part, when you put the nativity, I can remember, as a young adult, being part of a live nativity, which is kind of a neat thing, especially in the North, you're kind of freezing, but it's hot chocolate and, there's, it's good.
Again, all those sensory memories stand out.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I think growing up on the farm, on my grandparents' farm, that spending Christmas, that would probably be my most reflective Jesus moments, at Christmas time.
Because you were in a barn?
Yeah.
Yeah. What made you think of that?
You're literally,
like your brain at that time was thinking these thoughts.
Yes.
That's cool.
Having heard those stories of, Mary and Joseph
being in the
Bethlehem
manger
and Jesus, and, I just, because my grandparents, of course, in front of the cows, there's a concrete trough.
Yeah.
That's where you fed them.
That's where you slept.
And it's like, man.
Yeah.
I think about that. Granted, we think of the, cool. The conjured up kind of crossbuck wood slat thing that we, think of as a manger. But for me, I guess looking at it in that form, that really had a crude feel to it.
Yeah. It's because the crossbuck thing that we're used to seeing is representative of Jesus at this point. It doesn't represent a food trough for animals to us.
Sure. exactly.
It's ingrained for centuries that that's a Jesus carrier.
Yes.
So it has this quaint, beautiful look to it. But really, it's not.
Yes and no. Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that it's.
Yeah.
We can't even disconnect that
Right.
picture to go back to its rudimentary form.
And that's where it's still
like you
connected
said, you could look at that version of it and go, oh, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to replace that picture with like just a concrete slab or something, bucket.
But yeah, that's what it's what it's like, And and so it was neat to think about it from that cold yet warm, as the cow, the animals create the heat in that building. Mm-hmm. It's not like modern day buildings where it's a little chilly in here. Let's turn up the heat.
Yeah.
It's just that's kind of the stuff that comes to mind for me. How about you?
Yeah, just thinking about it, I just always remember joy at Christmas. Because, we've talked about depression before in this podcast. That's kind of a thing that I've struggled with throughout my whole life at some points,
Sure.
But I never remember that really being a thing at Christmas time. I just always remember joy.
Nice.
And my picture of it, kind of that fuzzy picture as you look back in your past, includes all of it. The red and white and the Santa ho 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 and the Jesus in the manger. It's like it all counts, you know what I mean?
I hear you.
And I don't remember the emphasis of one overshadowing the emphasis of another. It's kind of, they both were very important or, pretty key parts of my upbringing in terms of just the joy part and the fun. But again, I also don't remember ever, quote unquote, believing in Santa, but just the, kind of that whole view and picture of that.
Sure.
Ho, ho, ho culture.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. The whole culture. There's a hashtag.
There you go. That is a good hash. So and then specific memories I have. I mean, I have good memories of Christmases, and then I have some that aren't as good. I remember one Christmas, because of finances or poor planning or whatever it was, our Christmas tree was our lazy boy chair.
Oh, wow.
It's this black, pleather, fake leather, pivoting lazy boy chair thing. So we just put the presents on there, and some of the presents were not quite wrapped great. It was not a well-planned Christmas, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, this isn't how it's supposed to be.
Wow.
So I think that's kind of the bummerest, memory that I have. But at the same time, what didn't feel that bad. But just looking at that chair going, that's not a tree.
Yeah. We can imagine all we want, but that's not a tree.
It's not working. Yeah.
Wow.
But then I remember another Christmas, I got my first mountain bike. And prior to this, I had always had hand-me-down bikes. In fact, the one I rode the most was a banana seat bike.
Oh, sure.
And even at that age, banana seat bikes were not a thing anymore.
Oh, really?
You could find them, right?
Okay.
And that's kind of... So mine kind of had a classic look to it. I kind of liked it. It kind of had orange...
CC bar on the back allowed more tricks.
Yeah, and it was orange and had orange wrap around the handlebar. Wow. It was kind of cool. I was that's kind of retro cool. So I didn't mind it.
Did you have the little tassels coming out the end of the handlebar?
No.
Oh, good.
No. If I did, I would have cut them off. But no, I remember I got a mountain bike, and it had been, snowed a few times that year. And then it had frozen rain on top of the snow. So I actually took my bike out in my yard, and I rode around on top of the snow.
Oh, wow.
And I had a flipping blast.
I bet you did.
It was the best time. Every once in a while your tires sink and you almost fly over the handlebar.
Sure.
But I just remember that being the best thing ever, just riding my bike in the middle of winter, out on top of the snow, the frozen snow is pretty, that was a fun.
I do remember a new sled.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And was it good?
It was the early 70s, and still riding that on top of the crust that came.
Yeah.
When you get an 8-inch snow, and then, it would melt, and you'd get a rainy, and it would get cold.
Yeah. It hardened down.
Yeah.
You'd basically be sledding on ice.
The runner sleds, they were,
Yeah.
I loved those things.
They were killers. They were good.
They were fast. They were fast. As long as you were not on cinders or didn't break through the crust, you were good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, plenty of good memories. I also remember, in terms of gifts, just always being slightly underwhelmed because, you know, I had these expectations about, if they just get that, you know. It's a pretty narrow list. And the chances someone's going to read your mind and get that, you know. So that's one thing, like, I can just recognize over the years, dropping those expectations to literally saying, I don't care, you know, in a good way. But at the same time, you know, we've kind of morphed a little bit culturally, I think, where everyone has a list, and you send someone your list, and you make it easy on the person getting gifts, you know, which is great for the person buying gifts. I feel better for them not having to like guess, but it certainly loses some of the charm of you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, it's not like anyone's buying someone the perfect gift. You're always, you know, it's like you have this idea of a perfect gift. And it goes back to love language, is what I think you're going to love, Mark. It might not hit home for you the way it would hit home if I got that gift. But usually we give from a place of, oh, man, I would love that. So I bet they, you know.
I would love that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I know some good gift givers.
I think most people do try and get gifts based on what they think that person will like. I'm not that I don't think that's true, that they're always given from a place of, but I do think it's really hard to hit the nail on the head.
No doubt.
And so the more excited you are about giving this gift, and you're like waiting to see him open it, and it's like there's so much pressure, and you better like it, Mark. You know, it's like, well, this is cool. I have 3 of these, but or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or like, I really like my old one that's half broken, but I guess I'll use this new one. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
that creates some of those awkward moments of recognizing, and I think that can be part of that downside. It's like, shucks, I thought that would be better.
Yeah.
And because I really know some. I mean, I'm fortunate because, you know, I have a lot of good gift givers in our family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always pleased, or not, you know, like, you open your gifts and you're like, wow, nice job. Like,
and the way that they think of me. And I can respect the fact that I'm not that good at gift giving in comparison to those people.
I got you. Yeah.
And so
gift giving is hard.
Yeah. And
for some people.
Well, I think it takes a definite amount of time and energy, which I'm not sure we're always good at investing.
That's true.
But I think those people that are good at it, but yet they also take the time and the energy, and they're willing to search a little bit and maybe, you know, and think about it, and until they come to the aha moment. Yeah. You know, as I watch those people, you know, I'm recognizing that I think in some ways that's what they do. Yeah. And they're observers. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So gifts that's another potentially polarizing subject in regards to this season. But I was trying to think of the Santa versus Jesus. And again, like I said, my memories just kind of blend together in terms of the Christmas movies we had watched and just the joy and fun that would bring, and then the nativity events that we'd have at church and the joy and fun that would bring as well. Sure. But I also really have always embraced and loved kind of the sobering nature of the nativity story when it, you know, when it come to those sobering moments and those sobering songs, kind of the, you know, softer, quieter, silent night type song. I always appreciated that. And looking back, it's not like I was thinking this, but I just really valued that side of Christmas too. As well as the ho, 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 jingle, 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 you know, like the loud and in your face and joyful and boisterous. It was like, there's such a nice balance in the way I grew up with that balance culture of the Santa and, you know, that whole side of things, as well as the Jesus side of things and the nativity. I think it just happened to be perfect for my potential way of thinking, the way that I grew up in terms of that balance. Just to have both. Have a lot of joy, but also have some sobering, quiet, reflective, you know, just that balance. I don't know.
And I think that for me, this Christmas, I've been more mindful of even that balance. Not that I'm getting it right, but when I think of the Christmas story, I'm so mindful, I guess, of, we went to a service the other evening, and they had, a person recite kind of a shepherd's story, and how he came, how, Jesus came, first to the shepherds, the lowly people. Yeah. To announce who he was. And, and I think that's kind of a polarizing dynamic of the first Christmas. And there was this whole angel army that showed up, when he arrived. And I think of that balance in the context of the history of it too, that within 2 years, there were, also a whole bunch of people who lost their firstborn child, in that context of Christmas, that
joyful.
They weren't. Yeah. They weren't. There wasn't joy in that because there was, a battle taking place.
Infanticide.
Yes.
Yeah. Crazy.
And I think, at times we can lose sight of that in the Christmas story. Or I should say I lose sight of that. But this year it's kind of been a little more, I think this year's been a little different just because of, the way I think about it. This will be the first year, without Chris's dad, and how that has changed Christmas. And I, have people that I work with, who have lost significant relatives. And I think about them and I think about that balance of, like we're talking about, that there's a tremendous joy. And yet at the same time, there's joy around those memories, but then those memories create that sadness and that longing for that individual that is no longer here, and it just that how there is still such a diversity about, a polarizing feeling that can be connected with this season. Yeah. And I think from my perspective, that's what brings the importance of Jesus to the season, to be able to recognize how, yes, he understands both sides and is there to comfort us or to enjoy with us in the midst of the joy and in the midst of the sorrow, and I think, not to be, mean spirited, but, I think that's where the difference for me comes from, this Jesus presence versus this ho ho.
Unrelenting ho ho ho.
Yes.
What is it? Toxic joy.
Yes, I hear where you're coming from.
Toxic positivity. No.
But that aspect of December 26th, Santa's back up north now, taking all next year to prepare for the ride again, that kind of thing. And it's like, no, Jesus is here on the 26th in the loneliness or in the sorrow or in the joy, in the quiet. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's good.
And I think that it's kind of interesting because it brings me to another. I can remember at times as a kid, walking from building to building in the wintertime and looking up at the stars and thinking about the Star of Bethlehem too. That was, on those cold, crisp winter nights, it's like those stars are just as bright, I can always remember, my grandmother would, point out Orion to me, and we'd look for the Big Dipper and, the North Star. And you think about those guys journeying in, 2 years or so, give or take. Yeah. Yeah. It's just kind of a neat context to add to that.
Did you look for Santa in the sky while you were thinking of the star?
I can't say as if I did.
The reindeer full.
Yeah. I'm still, we still watch Elf as part of, a family, tradition type stuff.
The best way to bring Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear. Mark.
Yes, that's what they say. I'm not sure of it, but that might be an Elfism. Yeah. Yeah, from the movie. But yes.
Great movie.
Yes.
And it's very...
what about you, the Jesus part?
The first thing I was thinking about when you were saying, Jesus is still for you when the joy and the whatever is,
on the 26th, and therefore,
or even leading up to it. Like, I guess just the point, like, Christmas is joyful because of his coming to a dark world. And so that is true always, universally, no matter your situation.
Sure.
And I feel like, I want to say in the last 5 years, maybe, I feel like it's kind of been a theme that I've been hearing somewhat regularly, where we've become more sensitive to those who are having a tough time in Christmas. And so we talk about that, like at church, what we're talking about. We talk about that in different contexts, where it's like, we recognize Christmas might not be a joyful season for you. So we talk about how to bring it back to joy or whatever. And that seems like a new concept to me within 5 years. Again, I'm just making that number up, where it kind of was just almost that toxic positivity, like joy and joy to the world and all just happy, happy, happy. Where I feel like we're balancing that more now. I don't know why. I don't know, what's that word? The spirit of the time. Zeitgeist, yeah. I don't know what took place in the zeitgeist that kind of brought that to the culture. But I'm thankful for it, because not to be downers to those who are having joy, but to remember that there are those who aren't, but also to point them to the source of hope.
Sure.
And even when you think about that situation, when Jesus was born into this very dark world, this oppressive regime was over, the land, and even the death of all the infants to try and kill Jesus.
Yeah.
Was only emphasizing the dark that needed this light.
Sure.
So when these shepherds and these angels showed up, especially the shepherds, those who were in the culture at the time, even the wise men, they're recognizing, like, this world is so dark, and if you represent the lightness that we think you do, like, my goodness, right?
Yeah.
And I think that same sentiment can continue for all eternity, right? Like, for those who don't know Jesus and don't know of that, but to come to that manger and go, if you represent the light that it seems like they're saying you do in this dark time where everyone's joyful, but I'm not, or whatever, or, someone I love died and this season no longer means to me what it used to. If you represent what I understand you to be, I can still find my hope and my joy in you. And I think you can't do that with Santa.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree.
Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with a little pep and happiness to try and lift your spirits. I'm not saying that, but I am saying there is the truest version of joy and hope is found in Jesus.
Yeah. And I think that's where my heart, as you were sharing that worship song you guys did, CR, is it Ann Wilson? What was it? It was that.
I'd have to look it up.
No, don't have to look it up. But it was about the fact, even though it's Christmas, that we can have this joy, even if it's during Christmas, and because we don't have to. And I think there is a good awareness that.
I want to read one of the lyrics to it in it, because it's just such. Keep talking.
No, that's fine. I understand what you're doing. But I'm thinking about it in that context, because I think when we get it out of balance, and the gifts and the busyness and the ho ho ho, become the focus, I think there is a downshift. There is a emptiness that comes into our hearts. Yeah. That it's like, oh shucks. I put too much focus on that this year. And I've been, I think I can honestly say I've been there, to where, I've gotten it mixed up. But I think as I've, maybe aged to a certain degree, it's like that reality of, Jesus is 365 and, 66 in a leap year. That kind of thing, always there. And regardless, and I think, even the neat part, I've been thinking about even from the context of anniversary, because this past
happy anniversary, man.
but this past year, has had 2 years has had difficulty. John being out of the States, just these trials. Chris's father, and being able to recognize, this is Jesus is faithful.
Yeah.
I'm not talking with Santa Claus on June 26th, and saying, okay,
that's when you're supposed to be writing your letters.
Yeah, I suppose. But, help me with this, or, keep my son safe in a, foreign country, and, just that kind of thing. Yeah. I've just really been, I think that's where I've been. And I feel for people who aren't able to, or don't have the Jesus.
That whole picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, that's just a part of another part of the season, Church, Christmas and Easter, these are these 2 times a year I go to church, but the relationship is available all year round. And, that's.
Yeah. And it's in there in that mindset, right? Jesus is equivalent to Santa and the Easter Bunny. It's kind of this once a year thing that's kind of a quaint idea that makes you feel good, whatever.
But I also liked what you shared the other evening too on the whole, maybe Sunday morning, on the timeline split.
Yeah.
Anno Domini type stuff, because of his birth. Mm-hmm. And I think, when we think about it, when we can think about, he was a good prophet, or he was a good teacher, or, he was here, we're not going to deny that, he had a historical presence on the earth type thing. But when we're not able to recognize there's a personal relationship available because of that historical aspect, I think, that's where I feel for people. Mm-hmm. Especially this time of year, to be able to find the joy even in the darkness as the days are shorter, and those kind of things. Yeah.
And that's why
I desire to offer hope.
That's why I love the opportunity of Christmas being involved significantly in church ministry. Is it's kind of it's a really big opportunity for people to come through the doors looking for that joy, happy Santa and ho ho ho.
Sure.
Jesus added on top, and then to hear some of those truths of the peace of Christmas and the true joy and the true meaning of hope. And it's just I think has always been throughout history, as we celebrated Christmas, an opportunity for believers to spread that truth and that joy and that love. And often, so I was thinking about how two sides of this, where Santa can draw us away from Jesus and also culture, but also redemption is a common theme, right? That's what's one of Jesus and God's best characteristics, is how they can redeem things. And I also think that Santa has been redeemed by churches for years and years. You think about, like you said, growing up and there was Santa at church. Well, for some people, the draw was Santa, right? And even in, a lot of the big events that we have at churches these days, where it's like, come for the cocoa and the pajamas, and, whatever, is just the draw.
Sure.
Right? And because we're so excited about this opportunity we have every year to get you in the door with some joy, some fun, even cultural relevance or whatever, because we get to introduce you to the true meaning of Christmas. And as cliche as that sounds, it's such a wonderful time of year to be able to do that.
No, it's an interesting point, because I can remember as a child, being in the Christmas production of sorts, and I can still remember all the parents who would come for that one production, who you might not get to the church the rest of the year, because their child was a wise man. Their child, and I think about that in the light of what you're saying, how, Jesus is still about the redemption business.
Yes. Yeah. Meaning he can take things that can be bad and use them for good. And I think that's what's cool. And I'm not saying Santa's bad.
No.
And that's not my polarized viewpoint. I'm actually very happy with the complementary idea where, but like you were saying, for those who that emptiness occurs, that's what this season represents to a church, is opportunity to, hey, you know how much this Santa side is fun. Well, just imagine, the truth, some true hope and some true joy.
Sure.
Let's talk about that. And it's an opportunity that I think is pretty great.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about, because, talking about Jesus and Santa, how, as we teach our children both.
Yeah.
And at some point we go, well, the jig's up. This one's a fairy tale. Not this one, though. You should keep believing this one, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is such an interesting. I think that's where Santa can become a tool of the dark side, right? Where it is an opportunity to say, yeah, they're both fairy tales, and as you grow out of the Santa, you're thinking about your upbringing and how it's like, well, or not just normal upbringing of like, we celebrate Santa, he brings gifts and whatever, and they kind of trick us into Santa's here. Look, there's crumbs from the cookies that he ate.
Sure.
And then the next day we go to the nativity scene at church and we watch that production. And at some point they go, haha, jig's up. Santa's not really real, but don't spoil it for your sister. And they're like, but we're still going to the nativity. And you're like, it feels like they're in the same category. I think a lot of people have come to that point of maturity to go, Santa's not real, and also this Jesus thing is also a fairy tale. But a lot more people believe this one, but come on, guys.
Yeah. And I think that's the part that I remember wrestling with early on, is that balancing the truth of, Jesus is real. And even, to promote the fairy tale of Santa, I always had that in the back of my mind. Okay, is there going to be anything else that I want to convey to my kids as truth? And granted, we chose to kind of let the kids have their perspective based on more so on culture, but I can't say we didn't promote it with the gift type dynamic. But it was typically in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, is there going to come a day when I want to convey a truth and it's going to get confused with this fairy tale? Is there anything else that my parents allowed me to believe and didn't tell me is true? That I can remember that wrestling, in that dynamic.
As a child, you mean?
No, as a parent. As a parent.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to promote something and then all of a sudden, kind of like the same thing as what you're saying, but by promoting that there is a Santa, then suddenly, is this true? Or is this not true?
Yeah.
That question is in, and our kids have outgrown that, of course, and I remember it as an era.
If they haven't and you're listening, spoiler, Santa is not real.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting as time goes by to see what our kids, bring forward from those traditions or how they develop or,
So I think the key here, though, is to, as parents, to remove the ambiguity.
Sure.
So to make clear the difference between Jesus and Santa. So use these opportunities when your kids are young to do that. I wish I had it, and I don't even know how to find it, but I saw, maybe it was Facebook or something, where someone said, hey, here's a good way to talk about Santa when it comes to Jesus, And it was just a beautifully written thing that would be wonderful to share. I didn't keep it. I didn't save it because my kids are past that. But I was like, this is really great. I should have kept it.
It's okay.
If I can find it, it will be in the show notes. But whether we find it or not, this idea where she basically said, Santa is a wonderful picture of the joy that we want to share with you. And she basically painted this whole picture of how all of this points us to the true joy and the true hope, and it allows us to feel joy in a way that maybe we couldn't otherwise. So it's an opportunity to kind of bring some joy and happiness so that you can get a picture of the joy and happiness that we are allowed to have, that we are created to have, but not just at this season, we can carry that through because of the true source of that joy.
Yeah.
And she just, or he, again, I think it was a she, but basically just did a beautiful job of saying, let's paint this Santa business as kind of a front curtain in front of the stage.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's interesting you think about painting, you mentioned painting the picture, because I've been thinking about it this week as a color match. You know, and I'll draw the analogy because it's like I've been working on a white ceiling and I've been trying to find a color match. And it's like Jesus is the white ceiling and Santa is the color match. It's just you're not going to get it perfect every time. You know what I mean? And it's like there's just so much, because when I look at Jesus,
I'm trying to make the...
I know, and it's vivid in my mind because it's so difficult.
Yeah.
To get one small aspect of a whole ceiling that doesn't stand out when you look at it from a certain angle.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's...
I got some tips for you.
Well, I'm open to that, but it's funny because there's another...
In case the listeners don't know, I painted a lot, and that was honestly one of the most difficult challenges, was touching on spots on the ceiling.
Yes, on white especially.
So I think I'm understanding now.
But that's
difficulty of
yes, and I think it's difficult for a reason.
Yeah,
because it's not the same.
Not the same.
It's not the same. The time, the circumstances, it just doesn't. Yeah. It's not the same thing. Mm. And I think that's kind of where I was coming from. Is that aspect of, when I look at Santa, there's going to be a part of it that's missing. Yeah. That doesn't match up to the fullness of who Jesus is. Yeah. And I think that's what, that's why Jesus came. Yeah. Is that regardless, he would be sufficient for those moments when my life may not match up, but yet he covers over that in such a way that whether it's a difficult time, whether it's a joyful time, his presence, he desires that relationship with us, and that's why he came.
And he desires it without exception and without cleaning up.
Sure.
You think about so many Santa movies where, ends with everybody laughing and joyful and singing loud for all to hear. Sure. To bring Christmas cheer. And Santa does, as much as we want that to happen, he doesn't transform people.
Sure.
That's a fairy tale. Every movie you watch where they end everyone in joy. Now, don't get me wrong, some quirky thing can happen at Christmas where everyone ends up laughing, and that's great. I'm just saying, it's always trying to get us to a place that only Jesus can get us to. Yep. And Jesus gets us there through humility and acceptance and belief and faith in him as the source.
Sure.
Where Santa always tries to bring it out of us and say, you have goodness in you, bring it out, let the world see it. When we're all showing our goodness together, look at the joy we can bring.
Sure.
When the facts are, Jesus says, no, the true source of joy and goodness is me.
Yeah.
And the sooner we all reflect on that, we can become a reflection of him, which is a much better representation of joy. Anyway, so I think the balance of the two is, in my opinion, a pretty good place to be.
Yeah. I'm hearing that. I'm not trying to be dogmatic this year. It's just kind of in that whole aspect. But I think for me, this year has just been more difficult in the journey. And so therefore I am
clinging
to
the truth.
To the truth, yes.
Which is
which and tending probably in some ways to let go of some of the dynamics, the fluff, that come along with Christmas. So it's been fun to be able to chat. And you had one other thing.
Yeah, the lyrics to that. I'm going to post the lyrics in the show notes. Or post a link to the Ann Wilson song, and specifically the lines, because it's a pretty beautiful song. But it's basically what we're talking about. If you're struggling with finding joy at Christmas, it's called Just Because It's Christmas. And she just talks about the same exact thing, where in this season, you're meant to find your joy in him. And her lyrics beautifully paint why. Even saying Emmanuel already knows, and Emmanuel is a name for he is with us.
Sure.
So he knows, Yeah. Anyway, I'll post the...
Yeah. So Merry Christmas, one and all.
Merry Christmas.
Just
ho, ho, ho.
Merry Christmas.
And Jesus loves you.
Yes.
I know.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Hope and joy to you. That's how we see it.
That's how we see it. Hey, thank you for listening to our podcast. If you like How I See It, please do all the things that podcasts tell you to do. Subscribe, rate, review, follow us, and or talk nicely about us on social media. If you want to reach out, the email is us@howiseeit.click. Yep, I said .click, as in .click. Please tell your friends about this show, and we'll see you on the next one.